Hello and welcome
You join
to
us
the BRL.
live from the Bahrain International Circuit. Rick James here to bring you uninterrupted qualifying action for the first round of this new season of Formula One Breakout Racing League. By my side, Darth Q-Man ready to get going. Q, already some action here, 17 and a half minutes to go in the session. Cars excited to get out on the track. Welcome to a new season of Breakout Racing League.
This is very exciting, Rick. Season opener here. Can't wait. New season, new faces. We got Hey Katra, which who is not here, was supposed to make his debut today. Well, not his debut, his first full time season, and is not here.
We'll certainly miss them during the qualifying session, but we'll take a look at who we have here. ARS, Alan, or Alan, if you will, depending on how you like your spelling, in that number 2. Papaya McLaren getting off to a grand start here in Sakhir, what used to be known as the Sakhir Circuit, now the Bahrain International Circuit. One of our French pilots carrying the French flag today, Joe F1, in this lovely white and crimson Alfa Romeo advancing up the hill. Q-Man, in these opening minutes of qualifying, it's a brand new season. Certainly, nerves are high. You can imagine these drivers are going to use this more as a shakedown session than anything.
Yeah, obviously these are the fastest guys here in BRL, so they're also gonna push to the limits here in this opening qualifying session. So can't wait for these guys to push.
We'll see how they push here in this opening session. B-Dunk in this number 43 Black Arrow going down what you wouldn't call the back straight here at the Bahrain circuit, would you? But certainly running parallel to the front straight, advancing up the hill and around this lovely sweeping combo. Q, what's your favorite part of this gorgeous racetrack?
Um, this track is not my favorite, but you asked me what my favorite part is about the track. So I will have to go with the long right-hander, and the third sector. It is really fun, right-hander, really fast, and yeah.
Now going out of 1, 2, 3, and 4, entering Sector 2, riding along with Deer Hunter in one of these Pink Panther racing points. He's on his outlap trying to put in a fast time. ARS Edu 12 in one of the Red Bulls. Currently not being scored on a flyer. Let's pull up some of this telemetry here and see if we can get a good bead on how these drivers are performing. Q, what do you expect to see some of these drivers? Right there, straight away, Edu 12 with a big lockup coming out of turn 4. But do you expect these drivers to be aggressive in these opening laps, or do you think they're going to just take it easy and kind of put their feet in the water?
Yeah, these guys are very aggressive here. Like I said earlier, these are the fastest guys here in BRO. Obviously, they're gonna push for the first opening laps. These guys maybe take it easy in the middle laps here. There are obviously some different strategies here, so we'll watch out for that.
Taking a look in the top left-hand corner, you can see BRL Pirandi picking up where he left off last year, finishing runner-up in the points table to the Kiwi Ryan. Ryan, who won't be competing in this season. Now Pirandi has a genuine chance to fight for this title, but straight away from these first lap times of the new qualifying session in this 2021 campaign, Q, Chandler Seta just 2/10 off of the leader. Q, how do you think these top two are going to handle this battle all season long, with Pirandi and Seta only being separated by 2/10?
2/10. Yeah, that's a very close gap. So we're gonna have to watch out for that here. These guys are very fast and very aggressive here. So watch out for that.
Seta not going to be completing this lap and will come in second, 2/10 off of the leader, and Pirandi right behind that yellow Renault, now down pit road in one of the red Scuderia machines. Hoopalicious last year in a Red Bull, now trading that navy blue for that Ferrari Rosso red. Meanfern out on the track in the twin Renault to Chandler Seta. This number 93 French race car taking to the lap right now, 5th on the charts, Q.
Yeah, I'm guessing Meadfern is taking it easy here for this first lap, but I've seen Meadfern in other tier 1 races. His qualifying pace is very strong here, so we're gonna have to see how he pushes here in the next few laps he's doing.
Deer Hunter in the Racing Point right now, just up half a second ahead of FRA Formula. And then in the other Racing Point, Ham Newton, who has yet to put up a time using all of the curb as he's coming out of the final corner. We'll see that the Racing Point's now coming down pit road, and he will not be putting in a fast lap. However, the number 14 McLaren of ARS Allen on an out lap, now out of Sector 2. B-Dunk, Edu, and FinFan also on outlaps. Q, of these 4 drivers on an outlap that have yet to post a time, who do you like most?
It's a tough one here, Rick. I'm gonna have to go with FinFan. FinFan had a strong season last season here in BRL, so we're gonna have to watch out for him.
B-Dunk in this number 43 Mercedes-Benz, sitting 11th, but only because they have not put in a time. Still 10 3/4 minutes remaining in this opening qualifying session. Not really a lot you can tell in these opening laps, but it feels so good to be back once again with this league. Q, welcome back to a new season, man. It's great to shake off the cobwebs. Great to get racing once again.
Indeed, NZL Ryan was our last season's champion here in BRL Tier 1, but he is not here with us for this season, so we are also going to have a new champion this season.
We are going to have a new champion. No repeat winners for the title. Let's hang out with one of our drivers currently putting up a time in the number 43, B-Dunk. Oh, look at that. You just saw the wheel in the opposite lock. He's just finishing up with Sector 3 now. Right now, 12th on the charts with no time posted. Let's see the speed he gets up to out of the final corner, Q.
DRS Open, he will get a 1:25.428, which will put him P6, or P7 now. FinFan gets a 24.860, puts him P2 on the chart.
Let's go up to FinFan in one of these Haas machines. 124.86 puts him 2 1/2 tenths off of the lead. Williams, Haas, Renault, your top 3 so far with just 9 minutes remaining.
ARS coming out of the final corner to complete his first time here at Bahrain. Let's see what he'll get. He'll get a 1:25.510, and that'll put him P9 on the leaderboard.
9th out of 14 competitors in this qualifying session. 125.5 for ARS Edu in the lone Red Bull in today's event. Meanfern, 125.96, the first driver on the charts currently to hit sub 126 times. And then Deer Hunter sitting 11th right now in the pits with just 8.5 minutes remaining, Q. A lot of these drivers find themselves well off the mark. Ham Newton has yet to put in a time and is just now on their outlap. Is there some advantage for these drivers for waiting so long?
Indeed, the longer you wait, the longer there's gonna be more rubber out on the track, and you're gonna have a big advantage on your laps. More grip and more stable for your car.
Speaking of more stable, the most stable lap so far, 124.55. The number 82 Scuderia Ferrari of Hoopalicious to the top of the table. Pirandi knocked off the top for the first time in this session. 124.60 does not cut it anymore. FinFan still remains third. Chandler Seta on an outlap. He'll be looking to take top spot. In this new season, Q, we've got old names like Chandler Seta, like Hoopalicious Pirandi, who finished, top 3, top 5 into the table last year. So naturally, you would pick them to be champions in this new 2021 campaign. Is there any driver that stands out besides any of the aforementioned who you really think fans need to keep an eye on?
This is a tough one. I'm gonna have to go for Hoopalicious. Hoopalicious, he has very strong pace, very qualifying pace, very strong race pace. So I'm gonna have to go with Hoopalicious.
Hoopalicious right now sitting top of the table and one of last year's front runners that we're picking here for early predictions to be champion. But of the drivers that you really wouldn't expect to be up there fighting for the championship, Axe F1, although he's sitting 13th right now in that Alfa Romeo, he's well off the mark, so you can tell there's so much more to give, and there's a lot of excitement that comes from a driver that waits until that last minute because they've studied, they've practiced, and now they've taken all the patience they need to really put in a flyer. So in these last 6 minutes, I'm interested in what this number 95 Alfa Romeo can do. Deer Hunter, one of last year's front runners, right now sitting 12th on the table queue. 126.0 is not good enough.
Indeed, a 26-0 will probably put you like maybe somewhere in the tier 2 spots. But this is tier 1, and Deer Hunter has to get a better time here if he wants to start in a good position here to start off the race at Bahrain.
Deer Hunter sitting in 12th with a little bit of a lockup into that slow corner, and look at that Haas right there. Well off the mark, but staying well out of the way. Meanwhile, Edu 12 sitting 10th right now on an out lap. Speaking of outlaps, Joe F1 in this Alfa Romeo, the number 21 Alfa, begins his flyer. FinFan also on an outlap, as is the time leader right now, Hoopalicious. We'll see where these top three end up at the end of this one. Q, how do you fancy the chances for the number 72 Haas?
Well, like I said before, FinFan is really strong qualifying pace, so there are pretty high chances that he will finish strong here tonight here at Bahrain.
Coming across this line, he starts his flyer with less than 5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Right now, the leader, Hoopalicious, as you see that number 82 Ferrari open up the rear flap. He's going to start his flyer with 4.5 remaining in this session. Nobody on an outlap and more drivers in the pits than out on track, Q. That tells us it's going to be a scramble for this pole.
Indeed, and okay. I will
Just
need to
noticed
invite
you left
back
the
to
session, pal. Yep, we'll take
Yeah.
care of you. No problem, man. We'll get you here in just a second. 4 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Q, we'll go ahead and get you that invite here right before the start of this race. Pirandi in the pits right now. FinFan on a flyer. That number 72 Haas headed up the hill into Sector 3 for 2 more blasts towards the line. Zizu MX in the chat says, "Let's go ARS team." I love that tag. Zizu must be a fan of the great Zinedine Zidane. 3:30 to go. Hoopalicious out and about to finish this flying lap. Meanwhile, FinFan out of the final corner. The Haas coming into pits, so this won't be a completed lap for the Haas, but will the Ferrari put up a faster time than 124.55? And look at that, getting a toe off of the racing point. And Hoopalicious 124.47. He extends his lead at the top over Pirandi. He took his own bar and moved it that much higher. Fantastic lap. Pirandi on an out lap while the Williams is getting ready for his challenge for the pole. Fans, sit tight. We're going to go ahead and get an invite for Q-Man, who's lost control. Let's see. And we're having some issues here. Okay. So we'll get that going in just a second. Meanwhile, the Williams of Pirandi out of the first sector in Sector 2 on this out lap. Hoopalicious sits in first. Who do you suspect has anything for this Ferrari sitting at the top of the tree?
Fin is really looking strong here. So we'll see what he can do here.
Yellow flag in Sector 2, so drivers will need to maintain speed. Meanwhile, Pirandi, with nothing to lose and with an extremely light fuel range, will the Ferrari complete one more lap? And FRA Formula has been disqualified from the session for parking in a dangerous location. The Ferrari of Hoopalicious comes in, and that's going to be it. A disqualification in the opening qualifying round. Hoopalicious retires from qualifying with a $1.50 to go. Pirandi can't improve on that time. He starts another flying lap, and 3rd through 6th right now on an out lap. This is going to be fun. TLB in the chat says, sheesh, Hoop. I guess he wasn't expecting Hoop to retire from the session so quickly. These drivers, they are ready to finish this session. They're ready to go racing. You can see the eagerness in this field. A new season of Breakout Racing League. Formula One is going to begin. FinFan about to start his final flying lap of the session. Out of the final corner, foot down, button on, the DRS flaps open. Here he goes. To the beautiful tune of 207 miles per hour through turns 1, 2, and 3. Up the hill, DRS open one more time and into 4. 1:24.47, the time to beat. 1:24.86 is where he stands. 3.9 tenths of a second is the gap to make up. Out of the first sector, smooth so far. Qualifying is over, and you got what you got. Who will knock off Hoopalicious, or will the Ferrari begin his new campaign on the pole? Pirandi 1:24.51 begins his flyer with a Renault right ahead. Seta retires. 1:24.88 is his final time. FinFan out of the second sector, finishing up Sector 3, taking that entrance incredibly wide. And look at the Renault. That's Meanfern, who's just, or is that Seta? I'm not sure, but one of the Renaults who just spun around and in a very dangerous position, but nonetheless, the Haas out of the final corner, opening DRS, and the time 1:24.75 does not improve. 3rd for FinFan. Pirandi Williams with the foot down, but is it a flying lap? Looks rather pedestrian. 1:24.51. The time for the number 21 Williams. Pirandi down this straight with a $1.30 remaining on the qualifying clock. Will this be good enough for pole? Rather easy entrance into the final corner. Doesn't look like Pirandi's really giving it everything he's got, but we'll see what the time comes. And the Williams is not. He will come down pit road, and that's going to do it. Your pole sitter for the first race of this new campaign. Hoopalicious will start on the pole for the first race of the 2021 campaign. Hoopalicious by 4/100ths of a second, Q. What a way to open up this qualifying session.
Indeed. That was just qualifying. Now we're going to get into the real deal, the race. Who will have the best race pace out of all these guys?
We'll begin shortly here in just a few seconds. Fans at home, thank you so much for joining us for this first race of the new season of Breakout Racing League Tier 1 Formula One. I'm Rick James, joined by Darth Q-Man in the booth. We're about to get rolling. Sit tight. The Bahrain Formula One Breakout Racing League Grand Prix is about to begin. Apologies for those technical difficulties. Finally, we've got some life in our voices. I'm Rick James, joined by Darth Q-Man. Thank you so much for joining us for this race. Apologies, but I guess we're ready to go now. We're underway, just a few laps into the season opener at Bahrain. Hoopalicious leading by just 1/10 now. Q, he gives way now to the inside. Chandler Seda, who is outside, battling into that first corner. The Ferrari gets away, and they're 1, 2, 3, but now Pirandi coming around the outside of the Renault. FinFan watching from behind, and look at the overtake on the outside. Q, Ferrari, Williams, Renault, now your top three.
Rick, a three-way battle here is so exciting here in Formula One. Anything can happen. Anything.
Nose to tail out of the downhill turn 8, going through 9 and 10. Yellow flags out in sector 2, and the Renault of Seta gets right up close to the back end of Pirandi. That beautiful rear wing opens up. DRS is moving, and so are Hoopalicious competitors. Up the hill out of sector number 2, headed through 12 and 13. It was easy sailing for the Ferrari at the open of this race, Q, but now it seems that Pirandi has been able to use DRS not only to maintain the gap, but apply a bit of pressure. You saw that the Renault of Chandler Seta was right up to, and for a brief moment, had edged out Hoopalicious into turn number 1. The Ferrari's good, but he's not unbeatable.
Indeed, Pirandi and Chandler, they're really charging at him. I think Hoopalicious is not going to keep this lead for long. Pirandi might take the lead here.
Pirandi in the Williams, and something's gone with Chandler Seta, possibly a bit of contact, and it looks like the Renault's lost an end plate. There has been contact between the Williams and the Renault, and this is going to affect Chandler's race massively. On those red soft Pirelli tires, will he come down to repair that front wing? Will he change his tires during that stop? Now questions flying all over the paddock. The third driver tonight to gain incidental contact, to gain damage through incidental contact, and you see a lockup from those red Pirellis into turn 7, and another big lockup there. Q, the struggle is real for this Renault. There is just nothing left in those front tires if he keeps on smoking them like this.
Like I said in qualifying, these guys are very aggressive here in the opening laps. They want to get in the lead as soon as possible. And this is the end result for Chandler. Too aggressive, loses an end plate.
Sending it into turn number 1, perhaps a full send for the French machine through this final corner, and now you can see the gap has extended to nearly 2 seconds between Chandler Seta and Pirandi. Now 6 laps into this event. The Renault is staying out, Q. Bold strategy, and we'll see if it works out for him. Meanwhile, FinFan in the Haas right behind, closing that gap, and you can surmise by the gap by the shrinking gap, Q, that FinFan will have that podium spot sooner rather than later.
Yeah, obviously Chandler not having an end plate, really not looking good for him. So obviously decreasing his performance and decreasing his cornering speed. So FinFan is definitely going to get this podium spot here.
So put yourself in the driver's seat, Q. You're Seta right now. You've locked up the right front for the 3rd time in as many laps. You're missing an end plate, and you're on the soft Pirellis. So now the life of your tire that was already short to begin with has been cut drastically. At what point do you just cut your losses and give in to the fact that you're losing monumental time with a damaged race car? Do you come in now? Do you come in 5 laps from now? Or do you suffer through the end of the run?
Rick, I would pit if I lose my end plate. If I lose my end plate, I will pit now, because losing end plate is going to obviously decrease your performance, decrease your cornering speed. You're going to lose spots either way, either if you stay out or pit. So it's just best to pit and go for new tires and new lead.
Seta stays out one more time now, 7 laps into this competition. FinFan half a second behind, and the gap between Seta and Pirandi grows. Meanwhile, it's just 3/10 between the Ferrari and the Williams. Shades of the mid to late 90s when you would see these storied race teams racing on the track. Now, the Williams of Pirandi gets right to the inside of the Ferrari. Wheel to wheel out of the first sector. Hoopalicious just edges the Williams of Pirandi out of Sector 1, down the hill and into this tight, very wide hairpin, if you will. Turn 9, turn 10 await. Hoopalicious now knows that Pirandi is there, Q. Lots of smoke coming from these tires, and Hoop does not have the advantage of DRS. If you're Hoop, do you give way to Pirandi and save a bit of your resources?
If I was him, I would defend a little bit, but it's probably not going to be enough, so I'll probably just let him by.
Hoopalicious in the 82, now 4/10 ahead of Pirandi. Both of these drivers on the soft compound. We'll see where they end up. Meanwhile, at the back of this, Joe F1 and B-Dunk separated by quite some gap given the early damage. Deer Hunter, however, one of last year's frontrunners, sitting 12th on the grid behind ARS Alan. Just 1 second, about 8/10 now, off the mark. ARS Allen 1.4 seconds adrift of the top 10. Meanford, he's sitting on that soft compound. Hoopalicious coming to pits, and there it is. Now Hoopalicious, the leader, gives way. He's in pit road 8 laps into this event, now with fresh tires on the Ferrari Q. Quite an early move for the leader, won't you think? And that Ferrari sitting on the hard compounds out of pit road, out of that first corner, up the hill. So that'll tell us Hoop will try to go the distance on the hard compound. Meanwhile, Q, Pirandi still on the softs. Now that the leader has played his card, what does Pirandi do? He can either cane it and go like a bat, or he can just come down pit road now.
Indeed, I think he will come down pit road now. Now that Hoopalicious pitted, maybe he will come and pit this lap.
Chandler Seta still in second place. A big nod to Chandler Seta despite the damage, maintaining a gap of about half a second over FinFan. But now that pit stops have started and the Ferrari has come down, will the Williams, will the Renault also come down? Pirandi chooses to stay out. Chandler Seta in the lead group now coming down pit road. The Renault will get fresh tires, and the Renault will be able to change that front wing. Q, let's keep an eye on the tire compound for this race car here. Hard compound, Q. He's going with the hard compound. The wing's getting changed, so the Renault is also going the distance as opposed to taking mediums. What do you think?
Well, the hard compound tires are going to make the rest of this race, so he will gain a wear advantage over the guys that might be going on mediums this race.
Out of pit road and now getting some temperature in those white Pirellis. Chandler Seta sitting 11th of 14 drivers currently going through this field. Pirandi continues to lead, now 4.8 seconds ahead of number 1 FinFan in the number 72 Haas, and 2 seconds adrift of him is BRL Bruno Will. FRA Formula right behind him on the medium compounds. That number 21 Williams close behind the McLaren. Pirandi now out of, lost my place there, sorry, Pirandi out of turn number 13 through 14, and what will he do? Now the Williams darting towards pit road, and he does come down. So the leader into pit road. Will FinFan follow his example? And he will. Bruno will into the number 14. McLaren will now take over the lead. 10 laps into this race, but FRA Formula with the DRS right behind him, and it was a short-lived lead for Bruno Will. FRA Formula, your new leader in the Williams. Q, 10 laps into this brand new Breakout Racing League season. I'm having a good time so far, man. Who do you like in this race?
I really like Pirani this race. He was looking strong these opening few laps, these first 10 laps. Very strong here. So we'll have to watch out for him in this race.
Axe F1, 6 seconds adrift of Bruno Will, who sits in second. This Alfa Romeo on the final podium position with Mean Fern right behind. Deer Hunter breaking the top 5 threshold for the first time today. And there is Hoopalicious smoking those white Pirellis. He's going to need to be a bit more gentle, Q. He's got to go the distance on these tires.
Indeed. A lot of these drivers are locking up. So a lot of these drivers are going to flat spot their tires. They are going to have more wear on those tires as well. So these guys cannot be locking up so much with these tires if they want to go to the end.
FinFan, who came down pit road, he's also on the white Pirellis, the hard compound for the Haas. Out of turn 13, headed into 14 to begin his 12th lap of the race. FRA Formula still leading with Axe F1 7.2 seconds behind. Ham Newton currently rounding out the top 10 in his racing point on the white compounds, and there was second place at the time of pit stops starting. Chandler Seda, who turns on the DRS, and look at this with the McLaren of Bruno Will coming out right ahead of the Renault. Dangerous move altogether, a big heads-up play, and it would have been disastrous if Chandler Seda once again picked up damage in the same corner where he did it 10 laps ago. Big lockup from the McLaren of Bruno Will. He's now on those hard compounds, and it looks like just about everyone, Q, is trying to go the distance on the hard tire.
Like I say, very smart move for these guys. Going soft to the hards, medium to the hards. Very good strategy from all these guys here, Rick.
Ham Newton sitting 11th right now. ARS Adu on the hard compound, and you can see by the chart on the right of these drivers' gamer tags, all but 3 drivers on the medium compound. Dark Ice Race says Joe F1 doing a great job keeping up. Just 3 seconds off of ARS Allen in the 13th position. Formula still leads Q. He's got 11 laps on the medium tire. Axe also with 11 laps on the medium tire, so the top 4 have not pitted. Meanwhile, Pirandi goes purple for the race with a 1:29.23. These leaders, you wouldn't say that they have really control of this race anymore because they have extremely worn tires compared to the drivers behind them on similar compounds.
Indeed. When these 4 guys pit, they're gonna have an advantage of a tire wear advantage once they get on those new tires. So they're gonna be gaining some time on these guys here coming out of the pits.
Axe Formula One sitting second right now, 8.4 seconds back. Mean Fern in the Renault sitting in third. Mean Fern, we know that he's got the skills as we saw last year, but we'll have a look and see what he can do this year on the back foot of the tire strategy. Dark Ice Race says he went from Tier 3 to Tier 1 and never used a line before, so he's doing a great job, to be honest. Not that far, and not that far at all right now, sitting in the 14th position, just 3 seconds back, considering he skipped a tier going from 3 to 1. So we'll keep an eye on the Alpha and see how his times progress. There's a lot of potential in that Alfa Romeo. Meanwhile, Hoopalicious sitting 5th, pardon my scrolling. He's now going to open up his DRS and presumably take the position from Deer Hunter, and he makes it look easy. Now into 4th with 8 laps fresher tires than the now overtaken Deer Hunter, rounding out the top 5. So Q, the leaders have broken the gap between those who have pitted and those who have not. All of these drivers with 12 laps of wear on their tires are in serious trouble if they don't come down now, because it's a waste of their time.
Yeah, they will have to come this lap. Hoopalicious is Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Hoopalicious, the leader, well, not the leader right now, but he will be the leader once these guys pit in front of him. These top guys are gonna lose some time to Hoopalicious and not be looking good for them.
Hoopalicious sitting fourth right now, chasing down Mean Fern. 2.5 seconds ahead and shrinking. 8.5 seconds behind the leader is Axe F1 and the number 95 Alpha, and here is the leader of the race, FRA Formula, on the medium compound. Of course, he can go much further than his competitors on the softs, but 13 laps is enough, and Formula comes down to start lap 14 from the pits. Axe F1, your new leader in the Alfa Romeo, 14 laps into this competition. Mean Fern sitting second. Hoopalicious now moves into the podium positions on the hard compound. Again, he's looking to go the distance on these Pirellis, Q. Is there anybody that can beat him on pit strategy?
I don't know, Rick. Hoopalicious is really looking strong here. I think he has the top strategy for this race. He is really charging on me for an Axe F1, so very good strategy for Hoopalicious here.
In the middle of Sector 2, 8, 9, and 10 is what Hoopalicious drives through. Pirandi right behind him, just a second adrift. Before the pit stops started, Q, these two were nose to tail. Then they broke apart, and it looks like, using a bit of DRS and a bit of tow from his competitors, Hoopalicious has gained more time from that pit stop delta.
Indeed. Thanks for the help from those guys. He is gaining an advantage on Peroni.
Hoopalicious in the 82, now gaining on to Mean Fern in the second position. We'll see if the Renault does not come down pit road. Let's ride along for a lap with this red Scuderia Ferrari. He resumes the lead, didn't even have to use any overtake at all, and Hoopalicious back to the front in his Ferrari. 16 laps into this race, and we are now on the second half here in Sakir. Hoopalicious, Pirandi, Mean Fern, your top three. Q-Man, what a beautiful circuit, a fantastic lap by Hoopalicious, and now he's back at the top.
Very looking good so far for Hoopalicious. Peroni trying to catch back up to his top competitor here. Let's see what he can do.
Yellow flag in Sector 3, just as Hoopalicious enters that, a big lockup, and the Williams of Pirandi, he's now through the middle circuit of the middle sector of the circuit, out of 10, now entering turn 11 and 12. heading up the hill, and that Ferrari starting to peel away, but now it's a game of conservation, Q. Hoopalicious can go as fast as he likes, but the hard compound must last. You can see by the chart there, two DNFs it looks like, and it's a shame for Joe F1 and for B-Dunk respectively, 13th and 14th. But Axe F1 is the only driver now on the medium compound. He's switched to fresh mediums, so we'll see what he can accomplish. But clearly, hard tires are the way.
Indeed, your hard tires can go the distance here at the end of this race. XF1 is gonna gain an advantage ahead of those guys ahead of him, but those mediums I think will start screaming a little bit towards the end of this race.
Taking a look at the penalties so far, it's been a relatively incident-free competition. Only ARS Edu 12 with one penalty for extending the track limits. Only 3 seconds there. Obviously, one stop only for these drivers, and the biggest mover has to be Deer Hunter. Although he's still on that hard compound, it looks like he's going to go as far as he can on the hard and then switch to a softer compound to finish this race. 9 positions since the start. Same with FRA Formula Q, a fantastic drive in the first half of this race. 8 positions since the beginning.
FRI Formula very, very strong here in this race, making up 8 positions. That is wonderful, very good here.
Bruno Will rounding out the top 5, 1.7 seconds adrift of FinFan. He's 2.5 seconds out of the podium positions right now. Deer Hunter hanging on with those hard tires. Now 12 laps remain in this first race of the season, and it feels so good to be back racing. Yellow flag out in Sector 3, and it looks like it's Chandler Seda. Chandler Seda perhaps has crashed. Now Seda, no activity. You can see he's grayed out on the bottom, and that could be it for last year's Alfa Romeo driver, Chandler Seda. Heavily damaged, and if not, he's out of this race, Q. Huge disappointment.
Very disappointing here, Rick. I wanted to see Chandler make a comeback, and it didn't happen.
ARS Edu 12 now 11th of the 11 remaining cars on the track. He's got that 3-second penalty, but only 0.8 off of Mean Fern. If he can gain some time, he might not bring up the rear. Meanwhile, the gap from first to second has dwindled, Q, and Pirandi is now in the DRS zone. Riding along with that Williams, he'll try now to make up the gap with a lockup into 14. To the line, he hits the button, the flap is open, and the chase is on. 11 laps to go in Bahrain.
Pirani charging on Hoopalicious. Let's see if he can make the passes here in the next few turns or laps.
DRS open once more out of turn 3, up the hill into 4. Out of the first sector, 5, 6, 7. Into the very tight, wide hairpin turn 8. An incredibly tight complex here at Q. These drivers have to be not only precise, but consistent. This middle sector, turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, it's very much rhythm-based, but one small slip of the brakes heading into 8 or heading into 10 can absolutely destroy your lap.
And the Pironi has 2 laps fresher tires than Hoopalicious, so that's going to be a little bit of an advantage for him these next few laps.
Hoopalicious leading, Pirandi sitting right behind him. behind Hoopalicious, and you can just taste the desperation. He can smell the exhaust on the Ferrari. DRS is open. The Ferrari blocks just a bit wide. Hoopalicious to the outside of the Ferrari. Wheel to wheel through turn number 4. They touch wheels out of the first sector, and Hoopalicious survives out of sector 1. That had to have been the closest racing we've seen all night, Q. What a move to stay in first by Hoopalicious.
Very exciting race here. These final 10 laps. Let's see
Ferrari
if Pironi can make a pass on Hoopalicious here.
Ferrari Williams 1-2. For those of you just joining us for these final 9.5 laps in Sakir, I'm Rick James, joined by Darth Q-Man, and this is the opening round of the 2021, the first 2021 campaign of Breakout Racing League Tier 1. Hoopalicious in front for the majority of this race, but these long straights really lend themselves to fantastic overtaking opportunities, Q. Pirandi's going to have another attempt with DRS.
Indeed. And Rick, I keep saying this. These guys are very aggressive. They keep locking up their tires. So much smoke from their tires, putting more wear on them, and which is not very good here.
Hoopalicious attempted the crossover in turn number 2 and he could not pull it off, but now the Ferrari has DRS open. He's less than 1 second behind that Williams, so the shoe is now on the other foot. You can tell that Hoopalicious needs a bit of a respite, and the gap is only 0.6 between them. Q, put yourself in the driver's seat now. Pirandi has spent the majority of this race right behind Hoopalicious, and now he gets to lead the final 8.5 now, the final 8.5 laps in Bahrain. Hoopalicious will have the DRS advantage, but look at the gap now extending over 1 second. If Pirandi can stay ahead, he might just clear Hoopalicious long enough to get this win. Where does the Ferrari make up the gap, Q-Man?
Well, if he can keep the DRS gap, that's where he's going to gain the time on him. So, if Pironi... Sorry, I lost my train of thought here, sorry. If Pironi increases the gap and makes Hoopalicious lose the DRS, Pironi has this win in the bag.
8 laps to go for BRL Pirandi, and that Williams dives into the first corner 1 1/5 seconds ahead of Hoopalicious. Jake Macca says, "What on earth am I doing? It's 4 a.m. Richie Rich says, "It's only 11 in Toronto. Send my love to the folks over in Mississauga and Brampton." Richie, I love the greater Toronto area. Macca, go ahead and stay up, have a coffee, have a drink, my friend. It's a great time to be awake. It's the season opener for Breakout Racing League F1, man. We've got less than 10 to go in Bahrain, and it's just getting a bit hotter now. Hoopalicious, who is smoking those tires like his last cigarette, has spent the whole race leading. Now that Pirandi has bided his time in second, Q, it seems like the Williams was waiting for the perfect moment, and he's now extended the gap at the front to 1.5 seconds.
You know, these are very talented drivers, and waiting for that moment was the perfect moment here in this race for Pironi. And he keeps extending that lead. And I'm pretty sure if he doesn't wreck, if he doesn't get a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, Pironi has this win in the bag.
Now 7 laps remain in Bahrain. Hoopalicious sits in second, 1.5 seconds behind, and you just saw the Haas of FinFan just exit the final corner, but he's got no DRS help. So the Williams of FRA Formula now looking to crack the top 3 to the outside of FinFan, trying to send it into 1. He's going to go wide. FinFan cuts off the middle line. Yellow flag in sector 1. None of the leaders have spun around that we know of. Everybody making it through okay. Back to this fight for third. FRA Formula really applying the pressure to the Haas, Q.
FRA Formula, like you said, Rick, putting pressure on the Haas. For FRA Formula wanting that point position really bad here.
FinFan right behind him, and it looks like there was minor contact between the Williams and the Haas, but the Haas seems unscathed. You just saw Formula breaks the top three, and Hoopalicious actually had a spin in Sector 1. Thank you, Zach the Beast. And how do you pronounce that? Nidal Comet for letting us know that Hoopalicious half spun, and that brought out the yellow flag in Sector 1. 6 seconds behind the leader now, and it seems like Pirandi has this all sewn up, but it's his race to lose with worn tires and 6 laps remaining. FRA Formula barely hanging on to that third position. Now you saw FinFan drop from third to fifth, so it's Williams, Ferrari, Williams in the podium positions for now. Meanwhile, Bruno Will in the McLaren, he's just ahead of the Haas of FinFan, but these two drivers now have the DRS advantage. Will FRA Formula be safe? Will he hang on to third? Q, 5.5 laps remain.
FRA Formula defending from Bruno. I really want to see a Williams 1-3, which you don't see every day here in Formula One, especially in realistic Formula One. But we're not talking about realistic Formula One. This is the real deal. Competitive Tier 1 and BRL.
Formula, Bruno Will, FinFan still third, fourth, and fifth as white-colored clouds of smoke exit the rear tires of the Williams. Bruno Will with the DRS wide open and the foot hard down, trying to chase down FRA Formula. Everybody wants to make that key impression on the competition in the first race. Why not? Why not every race, but especially now, a brand new season, brand new opportunities to make your mark in Breakout Racing League. Q. ARS Allen sitting in 7th, just ahead of Axe and Meanfern. 9th, 7.5 seconds ahead of 10th, ARS Edu 12.
Honestly, you want to push in these final few laps to gain the most points as you can. But don't overdrive the car. There are limits here for your car. Don't go too aggressive on the throttle. Don't spinala. Don't get any penalties. Don't exceed track limits. Just keep it clean for these final few laps.
Pirandi leading, Hoopalicious sitting in second. 7 seconds is the gap. And we'll see what happens to these top three in the final laps. The positions for now seem absolute, as anything is guaranteed in racing. FRA Formula still not safe from losing third. He is within DRS range for Bruno Will and FinFan. Richie Rich says, how many tires in Breakout Racing? And Gnidal Comet says 6 plus 1 PC tier. Anterior Titan also explaining 6 equal car tiers, 1 PC tier, and then an F2 tier as well. Breakout Racing League, incredibly versed in so many disciplines in Formula 1 and Formula 2. You'll love to see it. Bruno Will half a second back of Formula. He will open the DRS this time by. FinFan will also open his DRS this time by. But that Williams of FRA Formula Q just seems to have the juice, despite the rear wing being open for the McLaren and the Haas respectively. That stalwart FRA Formula just stays steady in third.
Bruno and FanFan still in the DRS. FanFan looking to pass Bruno, while Bruno is looking to pass FRA Formula. A three-way battle here for the last podium position here, Rick.
Bruno Will sitting in 4th, and you can see the giant stream of smoke out of the Williams FRA Formula. FinFan right behind him in 5th, and this battle is only going to get a bit more desperate. It's going to be 3 laps to go this time by. Hoopalicious just up the hill, and Pirandi now exiting turn 13, headed down the hill to 14. 3 to go this time by for Pirandi, and he is sailing smooth at the front of this race. Meanwhile, Deer Hunter is within 3 seconds of Edu 12, and the gap closes. So Deer Hunter is poised to finish in the top 10 tonight. Mean Fern, 6.8 seconds back of Axe F1, and the cars roll a bit closer from there. Here's a fight for 6th, Q. Ham Newton in the number 13 Racing Point, and ERS Allen right behind him. I believe Allen is making their Tier 1 debut tonight.
Indeed. Making your debut, you want to finish in a strong position here in your debut. It will give you more confidence in the season.
Sitting in the 6th position right now, and you can see ERS Allen using the DRS to get around, and some contact between these drivers. No harm, no foul, and they're out of that first sector. A little bit of a shove from the McLaren to the Racing Point, but they still stay in one solid piece. Huge lockup into 8, and you saw the Racing Point close up that gap. Ham Newton will have DRS this time by down this middle straight. A lot of smoke coming out of that McLaren, and the tires, they could not care less about these Pirellis now. FinFan still in second. Bruno Will just 1/2 second behind FRA Formula, trying to hang on to this bronze medal spot. Q, there is so much action from 3rd to 7th.
And you got FRA Formula trying to defend from Bruno and FinFan for the last point spot. You have ARS Allen, who's making his Formula 1 BRL Tier 1 debut, trying to defend from ERS Ham Newton. A lot of action going on here in these last final laps.
2 laps to go in this race. There you see Ham Newton using the DRS to get to the inside of the McLaren, and ERS Ham Newton gets into 6th place with fewer than 2 laps remaining in this race. 10 seconds the gap between 1st and 2nd, and a further 5 seconds to 3rd. Meanwhile, anything you can do, I can do better, and ERS Allen using DRS to get around the Racing Point of Ham Newton. Side by side one more time out of turn number 4. These 6 drivers, Formula Will, FinFan, then Allen and Newton, these 5 drivers are going to be something to see in this final lap. Speaking of final lap, that gap to 2nd place has been shrinking considerably, especially now that you can see the Williams of FRA Formula from the front of the Ferrari. Hoopalicious starting on pole this year, and despite that spin, it looks like the horse kicked a bit too early, Q, but still, coming to this final lap, there's nothing to hang your head about in this opening race, considering all the action that we've had.
Indeed, Pirani, all he has to do in his final lap, keep it clean. Just keep it clean, conserve your tires, and don't spin out.
Bruno Will just hanging on to 3rd now as he gets around FRA Formula on this final lap into turn 1. FRA Formula now does not have the advantage. There's the advantage of DRS. Just opened it. The Haas does not open the wing. FinFan still in 5th. These 2 battling for the final podium position. Meanwhile, Allen, Axe, Newton nose to tail, and Ham Newton's got a 3-second penalty. He's effectively out of this fight. These 2 fighting for 6th. Here's the fight for 3rd between Formula and Will. Formula now to the inside, side by side, up the hill, headed into turn number 10. Hoopalicious out of 10, down the straight, no DRS. Pirandi about to finish up sector 3. Meanwhile, Bruno Will just ahead of the Williams of FRA Formula, who looks to the inside. They're going to go up the hill one final time. Out of the into the final corner, Pirandi is going to come away with an impressive win. Now these 2 side by side fighting for 3rd. Will to the inside. Here's FRA Formula right behind him. Do they touch? They're literally locking wheels, but no damage so far. Pirandi wins the race. Bruno will. Look at these two. Not sure if they're glitching or what, but this is going to be a fight to the end. Literally ghosting inside each other across the line. It's the Williams of FRA Formula who hangs on for third. Bruno will fourth. FinFan fifth. And the McLaren of ARS Allen just edges out Axe for sixth. Ham Newton 8th, Meanford 9th, Deer Hunter 10th, ARS Edu will come home 12th. And in a thrilling drive, as I need to catch my breath, BRL Pirandi, the winner of the first race of this new Breakout Racing League campaign. Sit tight for just a moment, fans. We'll see if we can get a couple of drivers for some words right after the race. Your driver of the day, FRA Formula, who comes home third. Fantastic, fantastic drive, Q. What a win.
Indeed. This is just a great day for Pirani. This is a great day for Williams. A 1-3 finish.
The pole sitter, first pole sitter of the season, Hoopalicious, manages to come home second. Digital champagne being sprayed everywhere. And the first race of 2021, the Bahrain Grand Prix, has completed. BRL Pirandi with a stunning 11-second gap over Hoopalicious. FRA Formula finishes on the podium for two Williams in the top three. You see B-Dunk, Joe F1, Chandler Seta not finishing this race. 3 DNFs there, and a big shame. However, the series rolls on. Fans, sit tight for just one moment. We'll see if we can get a word with our third place finisher, FRA Formula.
All right.
Back
FRA
with you in our
Formula.
post-race interviews here. We're joined by third place
Mm-hmm.
FRA Formula. Q, you've got our bronze medalist.
Nope.
Go ahead, Q.
FRA Formula. Great podium here. Your teammate has won the race and you came P3. A great day for Williams. How do you feel, man?
Yeah, I feel good. Very surprised, but yeah, the mediums to hards is obviously the better strategy. So probably
Fantastic
going
race.
on,
Absolutely,
probably could
absolutely, Formula.
hoop,
It's a
but
fantastic race, and then the schedule's going to roll on. So, do you have any? What did you learn from this race that you can apply to next week as well?
uh, to be smart about the strategy, I guess. Don't try and go for a good quali position. Just go for a good strategy in the race, even if you qualify last. So yeah,
Not a bad strategy at all, and quite the fantastic run, despite the fact that you came just a little bit short. But no worries. Thank you so much, Formula. Enjoy that bronze.
Thank you.
We're going to be joined by Hoop here in just one moment, Q. And there is actually our second place finisher, Hoopalicious. Hoop, you managed to get the silver medal today despite starting on the pole, but a good start to the 2021 campaign.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We got you, Hoop, loud and clear, my friend.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was good to start the season off with a pole. I had a little bit left on the lap, but luckily it was enough. Had a good start, but ultimately Ferrandi was by far the fastest driver today. Yeah, he's just insane at this track. I don't know how he pulled off the fastest lap at the end because my tires, I was just trying to save him, take him home. They're already at 78%, so I was doing whatever I could to bring it home. So yeah.
Conservation seemed to be the name of the game, but a good points day regardless. How are we shaping up for next week? Any strategies?
At Vietnam, I quite like the track, so I'll be contending for the win again, I think. So with the strategies, it'll be pretty hard to pass if there's any opposite strategies. So it's all about trying to not lose too much time, I guess. But track position is important there.
We can't wait to see you next week, Hoop. Congratulations on that second place.
Thank you.
Q-Man, that's going to do it for us tonight, man. What a way to start Season 6 of Breakout Racing League. Round 1 is complete, and next Saturday night, right on this channel, Breakout Racing League, we're going to have the Vietnam Grand Prix for the second round of this 6th season. Those links right at the top of your screen is where you can follow us, right on Discord, Facebook, Twitch, Insta, and YouTube. You can follow myself at Rick James TV1 on Twitch and at Rick James TV on Twitter. For Darth Q-Man, for Hoopalicious, for FRA Formula. Once again, my big thanks to Darth Q-Man for joining us in the booth, and my thanks to the fans for being here as well to kick off Season 6. Stay safe, and we will see you all around the corner.